For today, on this Tuesday, we are talking about Cyrce's Circlet. So basically the freebie epic triple socketed ring you are about to get 1 week from now in the release of patch 11.0.7. We already had a video detailing the release of 11.0.7 and what will be available in this island in terms of rewards, both in the cosmetic sense with mounts, pets, toys, transmogs and whatnot, but also with a bit more focus on the actual performance component of the rewards, which is going to be this ring right here. And for today, we have to talk about a couple of things happening about this ring, starting from the most recent bit of news, which has been the hotfix buffs given to almost all of the gems that you can put into this ring. So the TLDR is that every one of these available gems was buffed by between 20 and 40%, with the exception of 3 gems. 3 very specific gems. Let's see if you can find what they have in common. You have the first one, the yellow rune. You can put in the yellow socket right here. Add the 511 of every secondary stat, so basically 2k something secondary stats, crit, haste, verse and mastery. And then you have the second one, which is 1600 flat mastery. This one goes in your blue socket and also makes the other gems stronger based on the amount of mastery you already have. And then the last one, in the last socket, the red socket, is a 2k of your highest secondary stat, which also double dips, of course, with mastery if mastery already is your highest secondary stat. Otherwise it's going to be another one, crit, haste, verse, whatever. So these 3 have not been touched whatsoever. Instead, the 20 to 40% went to numbers. Proc numbers of damage or healing. So you have the proc numbers of the AoE red rune, which is a 5 target damage rune. You have the blue rune, which is a 2 target cleave damage rune. And then you have the yellow rune, which is a pure single target damage rune. You have something similar when it comes to healing. You have the blue rune, which is a 2 target heal, instant heal. Then you have the red rune, which is a 5 target AoE heal. And lastly, you have the yellow rune, which is a 1 target absorb rune. So basically it's the same, except instead of damage you have healing. 1 target, 2 targets, 5 targets. The 2 target and the 5 target effects have been buffed by 44%, while the single target ones have been buffed by 20%. Now, what is the issue around here? The issue is that players have been assuming, probably also remembering the older 10.0.5 ring from the Dragon Isle. Where is it? Forbidden Reach. The ring from here that was very powerful, the Onyx Amulet, expecting this ring to also become very powerful at the release of the patch. This is where we have a couple of problems. Problem number 1, the ring right now is average. The ring right now is not going to be a best in slot ring, especially for anyone that doesn't actually stack mastery. So no non-stacking mastery specs are not really going to get this as a best in slot ring, especially if you are focused on secondary stats. Just to drive the message through with the help of maths, you have this rune, which gives you 2043 of your highest secondary stat. Then you have the mastery one, which is 634. And then you have the 4 secondary stats buffed by 511 all at once. So it's 2044 in total in terms of secondary stats being buffed. So the total amount of secondary stats this combination of runes can give you is 5,721. If we are to take, for example, a generic 626 hero track ring, so we are not even going for the 639 max item level rings, we're taking this one as a comparison to see how close it gets to 5.7k secondary stats. You know, this one has 3,666 verse plus 1,913 crit. Plus, don't forget, you can put double gem in it, which gives you about 195 secondary stats per gem. So you're gonna add the 195 of the first gem and the other 195 of the second gem. So these max level runes are gonna give you about 5.7k secondary stats. This generic 626 ring is going to give you even more than that. And that is how bad currently the ring is. These secondary stat gems put together aren't even going to match a 626 ring, let alone a 633, a 636 or a 639 ring, which will be even higher and the gap will be even larger. If we go into the raid, for example, and we stop at Ansarek and the Seal of the Poison Pact ring, it already has 6.1k secondary stats on its 639 level without even counting the gems. Right, so basically the ring is trash when it comes to secondary stats. You might find some solace if you can prioritize mastery because these put together are going to give you 2, 3.6, and then like 4.1, 4.2k mastery, which is a pretty large number of mastery. But then again, 4.2k mastery is not that hard to find even right now in terms of high stack of a single secondary anyways. So basically the ring is a disappointment when it comes to generic secondary stats. So your only hope at this point is that you can get OP damage elsewhere, not in secondary stats, but in the effect of the runes themselves. And the effect at the moment, even post buff, are pretty disappointing and not really going to be that powerful, especially in the raid. Most of the carrying, most of the damage you will find from the runes after the buffs especially is from the 5 target rune in AoE, so that therefore in Mythic Plus, that's where you will find the biggest power on the effect of the gems. The weakest one is the one that will give you the most damage overall in AoE. In single target, then you will get more value from, of course, the single target rune. It can total at the moment barely 10% of your damage. Now, it looks good though. 10% of your damage, especially if you compare it, for example, to some of the ring damaging effects you might have that usually amount to like 2% of your damage, maybe 3% of your damage. So 10% of your damage is great. However, don't forget, you're doing 10% more damage, but you're losing several thousands worth of secondary stats. You're losing some 5, almost 6,000 secondary stats to replace them with the damaging effects on this ring, which is what also, as a result, doesn't make this ring anywhere near being basically OP at the moment. So there is the actual active risk of you not really ending up to basically use this ring, even if it is going to be a freebie ring that you can upgrade over time up to 639 item level. Now, the other thing about this ring, as we take this out, we can actually completely delete the ring and show you something. We can show you that the secondary stats right now, for example, say that you gain 2000 of your primary highest secondary stat. Also, you can look at the single target one, and it says it does 234,000. Now, if we were to take this ring and literally just remove it from our inventory, right? No more ring now. No more ring. This one says 211, and this one says now 1760. That's because I have to pick this up. I have to buy some of the freebie upgrades from the vendor. Those are the ones you will get from the weekly quests. It will take you 6 weeks to get all of the 6 you will need to fully upgrade the ring, because then if we take our newly reset ring to 619, the effect here is 211, so you would have to upgrade this 6 times over the course of 6 weeks to get these stats back to where they were. They are right now at the base level of 619, like 18 or something % weaker than they are supposed to be when they will be at max item level. After 6 sets of upgrades, it will go from 619 to 624, and then 627, 630, 633, 636, and then finally 639. So at the 6th week and the 6th upgrade, these will go back to their max power we just saw before we deleted our ring. That's the other problem. The other problem we haven't mentioned, which is the fact that the patch is coming out next week, right? 17th of December. So it's going to take you 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 and 6 weeks before you get your max item level ring. So we have already explained and displayed how the ring is already weak enough at 639 to barely be considered an upgrade. At best, it's going to be a side grade for many players who already have or will have by then very good rings. For example, crafted rings with your best in slot stats, just to name one. So even then, it will take you 6 weeks of upgrades, 6 weeks of weekly quests to earn these singing citrines to upgrade the ring, which will be basically late January. And at that point, late January is practically only a few weeks before the release of patch 11.1, so the second season of the expansion. Voices in the corridors and whispers and possible predictions of mediums, shamans, and necromancers are saying it would come around mid-February. So if you get the max upgraded level ring at the end of January, basically you only have like 3 weeks to even play with this max item level ring before you just throw it away at the release of the next season. So in a week, we will get 11.0.7, we will get our new version of the Onyx Amulet, but at the moment, it is, number one, far too weak to be that to be that exciting to upgrade on a weekly basis, especially for everyone who has already obtained this or higher level of rings. Number two, it's also going to take a slight bit too long to fully upgrade this, because it's going to be a month and a half of weekly quests before you can actually bring this to full power. And then lastly, even after it took you a month and a half to get this ring to full power, it will be very close to the release of the next season to begin with. So basically, this entire video is just to complain about the state of this ring. If we are getting this towards the second part, the finishing part of the season, you might as well just make it powerful from the get-go. You might as well, at the very least, continue to get these hotfix buffs to increase the power level of this ring, so that you can at least make somewhat sure that everyone will not have to think twice about using this. You know, we don't have to, they won't have to start looking at the different combinations and having to sim to see if it's going to be a 0.7% upgrade or a minus 0.1% downgrade and not even be worth using. You know, for this one being the entire major point of the release of this mid-season patch, then you kind of would have wanted to see it just powerful from the get-go, without any thinking behind it. Just make it good and make it everyone be able to use it, right? That is our point for today. Our PSA mostly aimed at Blizzard towards buffing this ring to actually make it worth for everyone to use in a week once the patch comes out. So for today, on this Tuesday, I guess on the eve of the reset, before the reset that will launch 11.0.7, it is now time to leave each other on this rainy island in the middle of nowhere. We're starting, of course, by thanking everyone for having watched the video, together with, of course, everyone who is also supporting completely for free by liking and commenting down below, as well as subscribing to the channel itself. Now, with these things out of the way, thank you guys again for watching. See you guys tomorrow, and in the meantime, I mean, even if it wasn't that OP, they could have at least added some wacky, interesting gems, you know, like cooldown reset, double duration of buffs, faster movement, you know, at least something interesting.